What's up, everybody? This is Joel from DorkJuice.com, and welcome to What's Wrong with Evil Dead. So this is the first installment in the series, and we're proud to be tackling Evil Dead. This is basically a series where we at Dork Juice tell you what we hate about shit we love. I saw Evil Dead, and now I'm going to tell you what I hated about it, even though I loved it, because that makes sense. So the first thing I want to talk about is the scares in Evil Dead. I had a massive problem with the way Evil Dead chose to scare us. Let's be honest, people. We live in a post-Pan's Labyrinth world, and in a post-Pan's Labyrinth world, if you're going to scare somebody, you better do more than just scare them with jump scares and gore. You got to give them story. You got to give them investment in characters. Evil Dead did that a little bit with the lead, Mia, but not nearly enough to get me invested in her or anyone else in the cast. And because I wasn't invested in anybody, I didn't care. Because I didn't care, it was impossible to scare me for any amount of time past when I walked out of that theater. So the things that resonate about Evil Dead are not the scary things, which is what you want from this movie. You want an Exorcist, you want a Blair Witch Project, you want something that lingers, and you don't get it with the Evil Dead remake, I'm sad to tell you. And that sort of leads me into my next problem, which is the characters themselves. Are the characters themselves? I know English. Characters in this movie are completely forgettable. The only two exceptions would be Mia, the lead, and Eric, the guy with glasses, the nerd guy with glasses. But even they have their problems. Eric isn't really on screen enough, and when he is on screen, he falls into this huge stereotype, which is going to lead me into a sub-problem that I'll wind back out of and then talk about Mia. The sub-problem I want to talk about is, why is it whenever there's a fucking geek in a horror movie, he is either the guy who creates the entire problem, or he's the only one that can solve it. They're never in the middle. I mean, can we get some fucking writers who know how to get past the stereotype, for fuck's sake? Winding back out, let's talk about Mia. Mia is okay. She's a really great actress. I'm not a big fan of Suburgatory, just subject matter wise, but she always impressed me in it. She impressed me in this movie. But she's got a problem. When you go to see Evil Dead, you can expect to see a lot of this.
This thing is attached to Mia's soul.
And all of that is coming from Mia. For fuck's sake, 80 minutes of this goddamn movie, she's fucking having an epileptic fit. Anyway, those points aside, those are the only two memorable characters in the movie. The rest I can't even really remember that well because they're not memorable. The next problem is probably the biggest one, especially, personally for me, I thought this was the biggest disappointment about Evil Dead, is that if you've been watching or following the release date of the Evil Dead with any sort of anticipation, you have been seeing trailers and you might have seen images posted on their Facebook or on their website. I'm sad to tell you, you've seen almost every interesting visual in this movie already.
You have to get me out of here. You are all going to die tonight. Cut it. Cut it.
There is one notable exception, which I'm not going to tell you about here. When you see the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's only one. Every other interesting visual I had seen before the movie came out. I did not illegally download this movie. I had not seen any video from it except for what was in trailers. Everything I had seen was released by the press team behind the Evil Dead. And they saw fit to release every single interesting visual except for one in this movie. Huge letdown, massive letdown. Because when you see the visuals that they released to the press, you think, Jesus Christ, what is going to be in the actual movie? If this is the shit they're willing to show the, the rest of the world and put on the TV spots and in movie trailers and whatnot, what are they holding back? Turns out they're not holding back much. Biggest disappointment for me by far for the movie. This next one is the only one I'm going to talk about in relation to the original trilogy, and I hate to do this, but there is a moment at the closer to the end of the film where there is an indication, it's sort of a nod and a wink at the original trilogy, and that makes me, a discerning viewer, think that they want this remake to be considered in sort of the canon of the original, especially when you consider the fact that Campbell was involved and Raimi was involved. You think that they want this to be, when people watch the original trilogy, they want to think of this remake. You know, it's not like the Jason remake or the Freddy remake where they just were completely different. There weren't really any nods to the original. It was just the same story, sort of rethought. This one has a very clear nod. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. You'll understand when you see the movie. But this makes me then start to think about the Evil Dead remake in relation to the original trilogy. And I started thinking, this movie was not funny. I laughed maybe once or twice, but that didn't happen until an hour into the fucking movie. It wasn't campy enough, and the parts that were campy were just the gore parts. None of the characters. There was no Bruce in this movie. There was, and I know he's not in the movie, but there was no one like him, really, that made me just laugh a lot. And that was a big disappointment. I know, obviously, the original Evil Dead not nearly as funny as its sequels, so you would expect this one to not be as funny as if they were going to do sequels. God help me, I hope they don't do the fucking sequels. But still, you expect it to be funnier, campier, and it's just... Ugh. Alright kids, that concludes the spoiler-free zone. From here on in, I'm going to be talking about my final problem, which is something that has a big spoiler. Not that big, but it's a spoiler in it. If you don't want to see that, please go away now and come back and watch more videos later. Whatever. So spoiler, my last problem has to do with the original, the first like 5 minutes, the original demon bitch that they burned in the basement of the cabin. Here's my problem. A, there's no indication of the time frame in which this happens in relation to the time frame in which the rest of the shit happens, or at least if there was, I missed it. But you get the sense, because when the next group with Mia and David and Eric and all them come in, there's still flies like circling the cats. Unless that's some devil shit, I don't know. The cats still look pretty plump to me. I'm thinking within a couple months of the first event. So A, my question is, if it's within a couple months, why didn't the cabin burn down? A. B, why is there a Spanish-speaking chick in this weird group of, you know, fucking Weird Eye McSkinnyson? Why are all these people here in this cabin if it's only a few months before? Why this cabin particularly, especially because, as far as I know, it's not a Spanish-speaking part of the world. Why are they there? But then my third big problem is, so they burn bitch. Daddy lights his daughter on fire, they do their little ritual, they cleanse her, and then they leave the book. They don't take the book and put it in a river and let it wash away. They don't bury it. They may have tried to destroy it, but you can't destroy the book, but you can displace it, obviously. They don't do that. They leave it there, across the room from where they set the bitch on fire, whose body, by the way, not there. If this was a couple months, then why isn't it there? If it wasn't a couple months, then why are the cats still plump? I know it's not, it doesn't like destroy the credibility of the entire movie, but as soon as you realize that there is some connection between the first 5 minutes and the Mia group, or as soon as I realized it, all these holes started opening up, and that happens, as you know, within the first, like, I don't know, 30 minutes of the movie. And then the rest of the time, I'm wondering, how does this fit? And I found myself caring more about that question than pretty much anything that happened toward the end. Since we're in a spoiler zone, I will say the chainsaw splitting head, fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. And it was the one exception I talked about earlier with the visuals. Guys, that's gonna do it for What's Wrong with the Evil Dead. Again, we only torture the things we love. Please do comment, share, like, post on your Facebook, email me dirty pictures of this video, pretty please, and you know, check out DorchJuice.com where I write and moderate and edit, and a slew of other various reprobates. Various other reprobates. Fuck! The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. Various other reprobates. Also contribute to DorchJuice.com, so please check that out. We'll be doing these videos weekly from now on, if everybody's cool with that. Again, I've been Joel. Catch you guys next time.